Today's the end of the Mudsplat decal era here on the bedside, which some of you guys loved, some of you guys hated, and some of you guys were right in between. But I think it's pretty cool. Took off one piece in the last video and left a little bit of a shadow behind. So I'm hoping it's not too bad. The 6-inch lift kit here is looking right though, dude. I'll tell you guys this much too, that it's the enormity of this truck now in person does not come through on camera one bit. I can promise you that. But the 6-inch lift on the 37s, it's a big truck in the first place. This thing's got some presence now. To follow up from the last video, some of you guys were asking me, mainly over the DMs, like how it rides compared to factory. So I thought we'd go for a little drive and talk about that real quick, and then we'll get to removing the decals here on the bedside. So to keep things like super short and simple, there's really no difference at all in ride quality from my factory ride to the 3.5, then from 3.5 to the 6-inch lift here. There's been basically no difference at all going from stock to the 6-inch, and 3.5 either. They were all kind of the same feel. Only little difference I would say from 3.5 to the 6, very, very, very minor difference, and that would be like the steering feel is maybe a little bit heavier, like by like 5%. Like it's not much at all, and I only noticed it right when I picked the truck up from the shop, and I was looking for any reason to like point something out. I'm like paying attention to every little thing. And I was like, I think the steering wheel is a little bit heavier now, but it wasn't by much at all. So nothing you'd ever notice. And even by now, if driving it for a day, I feel nothing, like no difference whatsoever. Nothing really else to say besides that. There's no difference between stock and the 6-inch to me. The only difference I would say I feel are the tires, because it got a bit heavier when I put bigger tires on here. It still has tons of power. My truck barely even knows 37s are on here, 35s, even from the stock tires to 35s. 37s, I felt almost no difference. Yeah, as far as the lift goes, I think the biggest difference you'll feel is what wheel and tire choice you choose. There's no sounds, no creaks, no rattling. I don't get, blown around in the freeway. It drives straight. It took alignment just fine. The wheels are balanced. Everything went perfectly smooth. So I feel like the only thing that could go wrong is bad installation. This here is my first full-blown lift kit that corrects all your angles and stuff like that. Factory coilovers. This kit right here just pushed down our factory coilovers, which to me is awesome because it retains factory ride quality, which is exactly what I wanted. When I do off-road, I do it pretty mildly because I'm not afraid of off-roading my brand new truck. I have no problem with that, but I'm terrified of breaking something for the simple sake of getting new parts for this truck would probably be an absolute nightmare right now. But regardless, I'm sure a lot of you guys the majority of you guys who watch my channel are probably similar to me. You daily drive your truck and you want it to, for the most part, just look really awesome and have the ability to, go on a fire road or, an intermediate trail on occasion. This kit right here is going to be the perfect kit for someone just like you and like me. This kit right here though is only a spacer kit. It doesn't come with new coilovers. Coilovers to me seemed a little bit unnecessary for sort of my lifestyle and how I use my new truck. I kind of would like some coilovers. As I mentioned in the last video, they would look pretty cool. That would be the coolest part to me. I'm not sure how coilovers ride on road. I know they're all adjustable for the most part. You can adjust the preload to adjust the height of them and stuff like that. And then most of them do have adjustable dampeners. So, for the most part, they are pretty adjustable. But I hear, so many different opinions on, how coilovers ride for daily driving. They could be a little too stiff unless they're, you can adjust them to ride softer on the road, because coilovers are performance oriented. They're made to be used off-road. So if you're not going to be using your truck off-road a bunch, there's no point in coilovers. But they are good for the sake of performance off-road when and if you do plan to use them out there on the off-road and you want more articulation. They normally have more travel. They can take a bigger beating because they do have a larger shock body normally, and usually include a external reservoir type of thing to just help with all the fluid circulations to keep them from overheating and whatnot. So there are big benefits to a coilover, but it all depends on your wants and needs. If you're not going to use your truck and beat it up off-road, there's really no point in going with a coilover setup. Save the money, just get a big spacer kit, but make sure it's a proper spacer kit, because not all spacer kits are created equally. Some of them don't include certain components that your truck will need. in order to salvage a lot of components, you're gonna need to make sure your kit comes with everything you need, similar to this Rough Country 6-inch lift kit right here. This comes with literally everything you need to pretty much imitate the factory angles on almost everything, and that's very important for the sake of long term. You're gonna end up paying more in the back end if you have a lift kit, you know, or a spacer kit that doesn't come with certain things you need to make sure you're not going to be prematurely wearing out certain parts on your suspension. So you're saving money now, but you're going to end up paying for it in the long term. Not always. I mean, some people do get away with running just a spacer and not replacing things like your upper control arm and, you know, other components you might need to make sure your angles are straight. If they don't plan to off-road their truck, they're not, you know, articulating their wheels too often, overstretching certain things, then they can normally, you know, usually get away with, you know, the more affordable route and buying just a spacer or whatever, and then getting some alignment done. But you know, if you want to make sure that you are going to ride as close to factory as possible, then you're going to want to make sure you get you some proper parts to add to the rest of the truck to flatten out the angles of everything else. And that's what this lift kit comes with right here, which is why the ride quality is literally factory to me. I mean, it feels pretty much the same way it did to turn. It feels, like I said, like maybe very like a hair difference in turning. It feels a little bit kind of like heavier to turn the wheel a little bit, but like I said, not by much, like at all. You probably wouldn't even notice one bit. So yeah, to answer everyone's question in that department right there, I mean, this thing drives literally just like factory, like it did the day, well, I'm not gonna say like the day I bought it brand new, but pretty dang close. Almost went with the Kings front and rear reservoirs, adjustable, like top level setup, but like thought about it, and last minute I was like, you know what, Rough Country hasn't let me down yet, and I didn't want to lower my truck either, so I was caught in the middle of like, I want to go taller, I don't want to go lower. It'd be cool to have the Kings, but am I really gonna get my money's worth out of Kings? I didn't think so at all. So I didn't go with the Kings. I mean, I just don't think I'd use them to their full advantage or anywhere near the full advantage. So to have that kind of money put into my suspension that I'll use like occasionally, so I went with the Rough Country kit to put me taller up, because I wanted to be higher up, dude. Like, I want my 37s on here still. I want to be taller up, and the only thing I'd say is a maybe downside throwing on the 6-inch kit is after, you know, my 3.5-inch lift kit, that's the farthest we're able to go without adding a cross member down there. With that being said, the cross member is going to take away from some ground clearance. So after doing some measurements, we actually lost about 1 inch of ground clearance going from the 3.5-inch kit with no cross member to the 6-inch kit with a new cross member. So you know, you lose a little bit of ground clearance right there underneath the cross member. Is that a subframe? I'm not too sure if they consider that a subframe or what, but that piece right now that's underneath the differential in the front there is causing us to lose 1 inch of ground clearance. Crazy being this high up. Like, I've had one truck before with the 6-inch lift on it. It was a Ford F-150, 2004 F-150 on 37. I sold it pretty shortly after, probably like 3-4 months later, because it's like where I lived, where I parked it, and my lifestyle and maybe, you know, my experience driving lifted trucks at the time wasn't all that great, you know, to have such a massive truck on big tires. Keep in mind, if you do go with such a massive setup, you know, a big 6-inch lift kit on such big 37-inch tires on a full-size truck in the first place, this is a lot of mass rolling down the freeway, down the streets, through the parking lots, through drive-thrus, through car washes, whatever you do with your truck. Now I have my FJ Cruiser, which makes things a lot easier for me if I plan to go down to, like, I don't know, Trader Joe's or Whole Foods parking lot or something like that where it's tighter. You know, this is normally not as ideal. It's not a problem. I have no problem with it. You know, I've got pretty experience with parking lifted trucks and whatnot, and the backup camera really helps, the sensors, whatnot. You know, all these things really help you out, but at the same time, you know, having my FJ Cruiser is great for just making things quicker and easier. So I'm not going to say this totally caters to making things really simple for me on a daily driving basis, but it's not terrible at all. You get used to it, becomes normal, but then you hop into a smaller car with a tighter turning radius, which, by the way, as well, the turning radius wasn't affected at all on this lift kit, at least from what I noticed. I didn't do any, like, you know, calculations or whatever or comparison, but from like just judging it from driving it before and now, there's no difference at all if you ask me. So anyways, yeah, as far as like my day-to-day routine goes, this isn't terrible, but you hop into a car with a tighter turning radius that's smaller, not as wide, the wheels don't stick out, then it's pretty nice to go from this to break it up a little bit for sure. Speaking of the FJ Cruiser, so the mods officially begin tomorrow. We have a big package showing up for it tomorrow. I have a bunch of parts that arrived for it over the last couple of days. So a lot of stuff's happening to the FJ Cruiser starting this week, starting tomorrow actually. In the meantime, let's go ahead and peel off, find a place to pull over, and then peel off all the decals here on the bedside, see how she looks. Let's get to it. Ain't gonna take very long in this heat right now, I'll tell you that much, dude. It's pretty toasty outside. But yeah, it's quite a few little pieces to remove, so it might take a few minutes, but just like that, dude, looking fresher than Febreze right now. So clean. Removed the yellow tint on the fog light and the decals here on the bedside. Looking good. What do you guys think? I like it. Both ways look cool, but time for something new, I guess. But anyways, got a little bit of an issue back here because apparently I guess I parked near some sprinklers at some point recently because we have hard water spots all over this thing, dude. Look at this. All over the bumper corner, on the taillights, on the bedside, dude, it's everywhere. That needs to come off ASAP, dude, because if hard water spots sit on the surface for any amount of time, dude, it's tattooed. So take it back home, wipe that off, and then also, I guess, finally see if the truck fits in the garage. I'm back down to the house though, clean the back end up and see if she fits. Garage entrance measures at 7'4" up to that flap right there, and we fit with like at least probably 3 inches maybe. It's crazy right there, dude. Pull the measuring tape out really quick. Let's see how much room we have to go from this antenna. 2.5 inches. 2.5 inches to spare from the antenna to the garage opening. Dude, nice. I'll have a link to the lift kit in the description below for you guys. Check it out, as well as the other products that the Yoda Garage has to offer on their website. They have a lot of products for a lot of vehicles, including the 22 Tundras. They have a lot of stuff for that as well. Tomorrow, we are getting started on the FJ Cruiser mods. That there should be a pretty fun little project. See you guys on the next one. Till then, peace out.